welcome back to my channel. I am Shupe Malama, the e-commerce junkie. And on this channel, we talk about all things e-commerce, online business, entrepreneurial mindset, and basically how to thrive in the online space. So today we're talking about WooCommerce. What is it? What are the pros? What are the cons of it? And is it something for you as a person that's starting out in the e-commerce space? All right, so we're gonna start with what is WooCommerce. So WooCommerce is an open source platform which a person can use to add on products and be able to sell on their website. But this WooCommerce is built on top of a WordPress website. So you need to have a WordPress website first, and then you add WooCommerce as a functionality to be able to load products and to be able to sell. So you need the WordPress website to be built first to be able to add on WooCommerce. So the two work together. You cannot have them separate. So the pros of having WooCommerce is that it's very cheap to start. So basically there is minimal cost in starting it. Basically, let me just say there's no cost in starting it off. Because if you have a WordPress website built already, that's a plus. Then all you need to do is just add the plugin called WooCommerce, and then from there you're able to set up your products and be able to link your payment gateways, and you're ready to go. So the pros of it is that it's a low cost to start it off. There are no monthly fees, so there's no monthly fee that you need to pay to have WooCommerce active on your site. It's very customizable. So the great thing about it is if you've got the skills to customize it, you can customize it to however you want it to look. That's if you have a background in coding and website development. And then the next thing is you can literally run your store at a zero cost, which is definitely a plus for someone who's starting off, for someone who's just testing an idea, testing out a business idea. You really don't want to be spending too much. But the flip side of it is that you'll probably spend more time on it. So you need to factor in that time cost. So there's no cost in it in terms of fees in actually running WooCommerce, but there is that time factor in setting it up and all of that. So you just need to keep that in mind. And then the great thing is that it's been around for so long, so there is a great support system in terms of the WooCommerce team that is there to support their natural support. There's a lot of forums where people have basically most errors that you might experience, most people have resolved them, and the solutions are there for you to try. With my experience with the support around this is that with errors that I've received or queries that I've had, I could easily just Google it and I would either find a forum or I'd find an article on it. So there's really a lot of information out there pertaining to WooCommerce. So in that regard, I think we're a-okay. So if you're good with reading, good with, you know, searching for stuff, and you're able to find the solution and follow the steps, then it's great for you. The flip side of it, the cons of WooCommerce, is that number one, there is a huge steep learning curve, especially in building the WordPress website. Because remember, you need the WordPress website set up first before you can add the WooCommerce plugin. So basically, plugins in WordPress, environment it's different plugins that you can add onto a website that gives you different functionalities. So there's plugins for marketing, there's plugins for, email functionalities, there's plugins for images if you want your images to look a certain way. So with this is that if you really don't have a background in terms of technical background in terms of coding or development, there's quite a huge learning curve. But one thing that has really helped me in terms of when I started building websites on WordPress is I use a plugin called Elementor, which makes it way easier in building your page features in terms of where you want your images to look, where you want them to be on the page and things like that. So if you're a beginner and you don't have much of a budget, or much of that initial capital to spend a lot, it is a option for you, WooCommerce with WordPress. It is an option, but do just keep in mind the time factor. The time factor in terms of the time you will spend learning about the platform, the time you will spend navigating and trying to learn where everything fits. For me, when I built my first website, it really did take me longer. But as I started building more, it got quicker and quicker for me to build the website. So if it's your first WordPress website that you're building on your own, then you have to keep in mind the time factor. But if you really want something that you want to be quick and you want to get it up and running quickly, it might not be the platform for you. Then the second con about it is that it is basically free, and a lot of the plugins are free, but there are some plugins that you will need to pay for. So if you want to add in like a booking feature, subscription features, things like that, you will need to pay for those, unfortunately. But there are ways around it. There are free plugins that you can also use that does basically the same functionality as those paid ones. If you're then looking for a nicer theme, or an easier theme that you can get it set up quickly, that you will also need to pay for. A good theme website is themeforest.com, so you can check that out if you are looking at this option. And then the last con, which is kind of a big one for me, is that with WordPress, especially if you're managing it on your own, you really need to keep track of the maintenance that is needed on the website. So things like keeping your plugins up to date, keeping your theme up to date. You really don't want plugins that are not on the latest version, and you really don't want a theme that is not in its latest version, because that then opens up, the security issues. So when you're looking at a WordPress website, you really have to factor in the security behind it. And do you have the time to maintain it yourself? Otherwise, if you have the budget and you still want to go WordPress, you can always get a developer to, look at it for you. What I've seen online in terms of costing and how much people are charging for WordPress websites, it could range anything from 3,500 up to 20K. I think it all just depends on what you want, and if there's a lot of customization, because each developer is different and each has different skills, and obviously they're charging you according to that. Then lastly, the costs in terms of running this platform or running WooCommerce is, number one, you have to factor in your hosting cost. So this is basically your hosting cost is to get your domain name. So whether it's www.yourcompanyname.com or .co.za, that comes at a cost, right? So it's usually either monthly or you can pay it on an annual base. So it depends on which company you choose as your hosting provider. There's many hosting providers in South Africa. The best ones is domains.co.za, Zello, AfriHost. So they've got different packages. You just obviously need to choose which one is great for you. Then the second cost you have to look at is the payment gateway. So with WooCommerce, you can load your products, but then you need to be able to accept payments through your website, which is where your payment gateways come in. So that's your PayFast, that's your Yoko, that's your your other payment gateways that are available in South Africa. With those payment gateways, they do charge transaction fees. So you just need to keep that in mind with the costs of actually running your e-commerce website, Then the last thing is, if you do get plugins that cost money or that have a subscription that you need to pay every month, you need to keep that cost in mind, and you need to make sure that the cost that is taking you to run your website, you kind of factor those in whatever products or service that you're selling on that website. So that's basically the costs. WooCommerce is a good option. It's great for beginners if you're willing to take in that learning curve and you've got that technical background. Then you know what, go for the platform. But at the end of the day, do the research. There's lots of information online about this platform. And thank you for watching my video. Thank you for engaging. Leave your comments down below. Tell me what has been your experience with WooCommerce. Is it something that you're considering? Is there any other questions that you'd like me to cover? Drop them down below. I can't wait to see you in the next video. Thank you for engaging. Like, share, subscribe, do the right things. Share it with people that you think might use this video or that might find this information very, helpful in their journey. Thanks, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye.